views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hola everyone, welcome to Open BxRx Remote, brought to you from my living workspace, Charlie Executive Suite. I'm Rhina Valentin, your hosty Café con Leche every Friday, and we are activated. Here's what's coming up in today's show. Leading things off, we speak with Councilman Fernando Cabrera of the 14th District about policy reforms behind police brutality, along with the nationwide protest for George Floyd. After that, we'll hear from Black Lives Matter Greater New York co-chair Chivona Newsome about her years dedicated to expanding this movement to combat the ongoing racial injustices for Black and Brown people in the country. Then we'll find out how NYCHA residents are taking matters into their own hands with the hashtag #FundANYCHA social media campaign that intends to bring attention to the living conditions during the COVID-19 pandemic. Later on in the show, Bobby C brings us an up-to-date with the latest headlines in the world of sports. And lastly, this week's Open Artist Spotlight features Artist Up, a spoken word artist from the Bronx who is all about impacting her community. And she'll also perform a piece entitled They Run. So, sit back y prepárate. All this and more is headed your way, because now we are officially open. Welcome to Open. I'm Rhina Valentin, your hosty Café con Leche for the next hour. Always inviting you to get social with us, especially during these trying times. Tweet us and follow us on Instagram at BronxNet TV and like us on Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. And of course, you can follow me on all those platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Insta Stories, LinkedIn at Rhina Valentin. So amid a global pandemic, the death of George Floyd has many people across the nation and the world, for that matter, coming together to protest the injustice of police brutality, as well as the racism that continues to divide this country, and making it apparent that policy reforms are needed now more than ever. All while religious leaders continue praying for healing, as many people are distraught during this time of dealing with community disparities. And joining us to tell us more, we welcome representing the 14th District of the Bronx, Councilman and Pastor Fernando Cabrera. Hello.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for having me. What an honor to be on your show.
Oh, well, thank you for making the time. I know you've been very busy trying to transform lives.
It has been quite busy. As you stated, the pandemic brought us an unprecedented crisis here in our district, in the Bronx, and throughout the city. And at the same time, we're seeing the incident happen with George Floyd, and it has literally sent a shockwave into our society. People were cooped up for so long. Now they're coming out, and with a sense of anger, need for justice, hurt, pain, and couple that with pressures. It's a lot for people to bear. It's a whole lot.
It is a lot. It is a lot. And, I know that you do a lot of work with the juvenile injustice facilities. And I know you focus a lot on the youth. And this is being led predominantly by youth. And so what kind of words would you like to share with them? Because, yes, while there is a means of being angry or justified anger, it's the way that these protests are occurring that really becomes questionable.
Yeah, so what I would say is the family of George Floyd, who had the honor to visit and to attend the funeral yesterday. The family have asked, there's a request from the family for any form of violence, rioting, vandalism, looting to stop, because it takes away really from the cause. It takes away from the focus. It takes away from people wanting to participate. I know people have told me, listen, I want to be there. I want to say presente. I want to say present. I want to say that I was there, but I'm afraid I'm going to get hurt. I'm afraid that I'm going to get involved or swept up in some form of arrest because somebody else was doing something, or somebody threw a brick and they're going to say it was me. It's literally taken away from the voice of justice.
So
And there's, yes.
no. Yeah, I hear you, and you're right. And and one of the reasons we really wanted to have you on is because not only are you a pastor and understanding, the humanity that is really being challenged right now. You're also a councilman who deals with legislation and reform. And so, like, what should people really be focusing on here?
So, I'm so glad that you asked. There's a package of bills, which I hope one of them, which I'm calling upon the state of New York. We have a resolution to make chalk holes done by police to become a felony, level 1 violent felony. There has to be some teeth to someone doing something that already is not on the books in the manual of training for the NYPD. We have a series of packages that are going to strengthen people's trust. It's going to help the NYPD, to tell you the truth, at the end of the day, because they don't have to resort to these draconic tactics that has cost life. In my own district, I think people have forgotten Anthony Baez in 1994, a Latino who literally was choked to death. He couldn't breathe. Also, the cry since 1994, is I can't breathe. And we can't breathe emotionally, even spiritually. There's something that is really taking the life of our community. And so I think that we are moving forward. We're not just talking about it. We're going to be about it. We're going to be doing things that are going to make a difference.
Right. And it's interesting that you would say that, right? Because the phrase "I can't breathe" it serves on so many levels. Metaphorically, literally, physically. I mean, this just seems to be the theme of this particular time period, because what's being challenged through this pandemic? Our breath.
Indeed. And let me tell you, if I could be symbolic about it, let me tell you what I think is at the heart of this. It's the power of shame. Is to say it when you treat it that way, when you have, when you treat it differently than our white counterparts, is the stamp you with a label that says there's something wrong with you. It's not that you did something wrong as much as there's something wrong with you. Therefore, we're going to treat you different, and we can no longer afford for our children, the Black and brown children, Asian children, to raise up with such a complex. I went through it myself. I went through it in my high school days. It took me years to recuperate and find my identity because somebody labeled me. I got called names and treated differently. The police stopped me numerous times for no reason whatsoever. Right. Stopping a pastor. I mean, can you imagine?
Yes,
because they lie about why it was so. And so the time for change is now.
I think you're in a wonderful position to be a voice, because I don't know if most people even know that you were also the former program director for mental health and counseling at Mercy College. And I think one of the things, this is my personal opinion on this matter is that I just wonder if the psyche of these officers are really being tested accordingly.
So, that's very interesting. I think one of the things that we got to look at is the battery of tests that potential officers, candidates are taking. We need to review that. The second thing is to establish a different culture. Let me tell you what happens. I think part of the problem is with all of these officers, and look, the vast majority of officers do the right thing, but the ones that are doing these evil murders, those who are literally costing the lives of people who should not be dead today, whose moms have cried day in, day out. I think at the end of the day, it's all about control. You see, when somebody feels superior over somebody else, they want to control. This is a form of control. When you see George Floyd in the floor with the knee in his neck, that was not about what he did at that moment or what he was accused, by the way,
right,
of what he did. Because
which was minor.
Yes, indeed, very minor. For $20, somebody's going to die. I mean, you got to be kidding. And how do we know that he even know? I could have a kind for $20 that I don't even know, right? So I bought something
for counterfeit $20.
Yes,
alleged counterfeit $20.
Exactly. And so but to have that knee in the neck, I mean, literally, is saying I'm taking control over you. You see, that's the psychic that is at work. Is very sick psychic, and the NYPD and all of the PDs across the nation need to be vigilant to see who has that type of mentality and behavior. Look, let me just mention one more thing. Every single one of those police officers that have done this, they all have a track record. We got to look at the pattern. The pattern is the problem, and we got to nip it early on.
Right. And so here's to really enforcing humanity, right? And being humanitarians, because if you're saying that they have a pattern, then these type of individuals really shouldn't be holding a badge, because for some reason it seems to be justified in their actions. Rather, it's justifying their actions, which is why they keep repeating this type of behavior.
Indeed. I think what we're missing in society at every level, I'm telling you, is a culture of honor. We have forgotten how to honor one another, how to honor parents, how to honor the public when you're serving them. We have lost that power of honor. And honor is when you value somebody. And to get a bit spiritual here, if you don't value the image of God in someone, then you don't value God. It's contradicting. You can't say you love God and you hate your neighbor. It just goes against the very nature of your religious fabric and value in your heart.
For more on how to be a contribution to your neighborhood, you can follow Councilman Fernando Cabrera on Twitter at FCabreraNY for updates on District 14. We do have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll discuss more about the nationwide protests. So don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Open, our remote version. The death of George Floyd has sparked protests around the country, but it's also reignited the ongoing issue of racism in America. Black and brown people continue to face the injustices, inequalities, and disparities, all while dealing with the pandemic. Joining us to talk more about these issues, we welcome Black Lives Matter Greater New York co-chair Chivona Newsome. Hey, Chivona, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Rhina. It's great to see you.
It's been a busy week for you, huh?
It's been a very busy week. Last night was the first night since I heard about the death of George Floyd that I actually got 5 hours of sleep. So it's been a whirlwind. I've been in Minneapolis. After I saw how the NYPD was treating my people at home, I flew back to New York. It's been nonstop since I've heard about his death.
So let's talk a little bit about the protests, the curfews, and then the riot component of it, because there's a lot of mixed energy, a lot of mixed information. There's a lot of confusion going on right now.
Yes. And it's no clarity. And I think what people need to remember that this is more than a protest. This is an absolute revolution. Black people in this country have been oppressed for 400 years, and watching the murder of George Floyd on television was the last straw. It was enough is enough. And as you can see by the uprisings around the whole nation, people want real change. People want something tangible, and everyone's grown tired of waiting for career politicians to come and save us. So now we're taking the steps to save ourselves.
So, I really want to just address the fact that while I get that people are angry and, everybody's been quarantined for so many months at this point, there's a lot of release happening. The fact that they're affecting local mom and pop shops is like, I don't really quite get how that benefits anyone.
It the way that they're expressing their frustration, and I would love to not focus on the tools that are being used, but you have to think about the people who are looting. These are not wealthy people. These are people who have faced income disparities, people who live in poverty. I saw a local pharmacy that was raided, and they were talking about on the news, it was like cancer medications and AIDS medications. But if we had free health care for all and there was no prescription drugs, no cost for prescription drugs, that would not have a value. The mom and pop element of it, it hurts, but think about the deeper hurt of an oppressed people. I don't encourage rioting, but I understand it.
Well, I do also understand that your organization, as well as a lot of your members, have taken the initiative to go clean up other people's messes. So it's a
Yes.
wonderful example that's being set. And with that, I'd like to move this forward and just share with our viewers the demands that Black Lives Matter Greater New York are standing for.
Well, our general demands are in line with the Black Panther Party. We believe in their 10-point steps of the things they believe. In terms of this specifically, we'll be announcing our full list of demands to have a resolution to this crisis on Sunday. But we believe in cops should be punished for falsifying police arrests. Cops should be punished and face prison time if they deny you medical care. And all the other ways you see police brutality happening, we want complete liberation of Black people. That is our mission, and that's what we stand by. But just to give you a little teaser for what's to come on Sunday, we're releasing the economic plan, an education plan. On Friday, a week ago, we actually made a demand for the I Can't Breathe Act. We called on all governors from all 50 states to sign that into an executive order. And the I Can't Breathe Act states that if an officer denies you medical care while in custody, that's a class A felony, and they'll be charged like a regular civilian like you or me if you are murdered in their custody, because we're tired of waiting for an investigation to happen. We're tired. We know that we need special prosecutors. We actually need military police to investigate the crimes against humanity that comes out of local police departments, because the prosecutor's office and the police department tend to work hand in hand. So these are some of the things that will be released on Sunday, and a full list of demands that we've stood by for years is available on our website.
That's wonderful. And so, as we were discussing earlier with regards to demands, let's just share with everyone the people that that spearhead the Black Lives Matter Greater New York, because you've got a lot of well-to-do, qualified individuals who know how to implement law.
Absolutely. Who I co-founded it with is actually my biological brother, even though we're all brothers and sisters, but I'm talking about same daddy, same mama. Hawk Newsome is a lawyer. Our education director, who has written policies, has a master's degree, and he's opening up his own school in the Bronx. Everyone on our team is really, really qualified. So it's kind of insulting for people to blame someone of our organization for looting and rioting, and all we do is uplift our community. From the COVID crisis, we fed 6,000 people. When we realized that the NYPD had racist practices happening and the way they were enforcing social distancing, we forced the mayor to concede. We've called on Governor Cuomo to increase testing sites, to allocate money to local gun interrupter, nonviolence community organizations. So I am offended when people accuse us of looting.
And so, and rightfully so. I mean, you've been a stand for quite so many years, and actually you've dedicated your life to this, right? You were born
My
into
whole
it.
life. I was born into it. Fun fact, my parents met at a rally in 1969. They were protesting for Black history to be taught by Black people right here in the Bronx at Roosevelt High School. So, and Black Lives Matter Greater New York was founded in the Bronx. So we are a wholeheartedly Bronx organization. Of course, our work is taking notice internationally. And when you see the uprisings that are happening in Paris and people have on the BLM shirts, we started a chapter there. In Australia, we brought our messaging there. In Ireland, and all around the nation. So when George Floyd was murdered, Black Lives Matter Minnesota reached out to us. We started a virtual rally as soon as it was released to the press, and then we co-hosted events while we were with them on the ground in Minneapolis.
So before we go, let's just really emphasize what people should be doing to contribute in a positive manner to, to be a contribution to this change that really this revolution has created. Because at the end of the day, everybody's looking for a transformation. However, a transformation for the better. So what can people do to be that type of contribution?
Okay, this is what I love to express to people. You're a journalist, and I know that you're an activist, so you use your platform to further and advance the liberation of Black people and other marginalized people. If you're an artist, you've seen beautiful artwork of Ahmaud Arbery, of George Floyd. Whatever medium you have that you're good at, if you have more means, please donate to Black Lives Matter Greater New York, because we use it to feed people, to bail out protesters. Whatever it is that you're good at, even if it's making calls, wellness checks on people, if you're a good organizer, if you're a publicist, any skill you have can be used towards the betterment and transformation and in this revolution. You don't have to be on the front lines with me. You don't have to be running for office as I'm running for Congress. Whatever you're great at and good at, it can be used for this new world we're coming into.
And for those who are out in the street who may be listening, what advice do you have for them?
Keep fighting back. Nothing in this country has ever happened without a change. America was founded on a revolution. The Boston Tea Party, what people weren't sitting around drinking tea and eating crumpets. This is a nation of fighting back. If it wasn't for my ancestors, from Angela Davis and Rosa Parks and all of these people who fought the good fight, I wouldn't have the ability to vote. I wouldn't have the ability to run for office. I wouldn't have the ability to challenge authority. So keep fighting back. Nothing is ever won by being passive and sitting at home.
Right. And so you're offering an open invitation for everyone to be a part of your front line, rather, Black Lives Matter, Greater New York, on Sunday. Let's give the details of that before we go.
We are releasing the Black agenda because we know that nothing happens for our people without legislation. So at Times Square, Sunday at noon, we will be unveiling our policy and platform to how we move forward in this new world and into this revolution. The guidelines, because what we're giving, and people can reach out to us now, is a blueprint of you need, it starts in your community. We need to organize in our own community. We need education. So it's multifaceted, from you on the ground in your neighborhood to what the governor can do, what whoever's elected, please don't let it be Trump, whoever's elected, what they can do. And so a state, federal, local level down to the neighborhood, we have a plan on how to move forward and for the liberation of all Black people.
And that's all going to be addressed on Sunday.
Yeah, it's going to be a kicker. It's going to be a really good day.
Awesome. And thank you for bringing it here to our viewers. Thank you for taking the time. I know you're still out there in the forefront.
I'm in the truck. I'm working.
You're in the truck, literally.
I'm in the truck, literally.
Well, here's to the revolution, sister.
All powers to the people.
All powers to the people. Thank you for being with us, Chivona.
Thank you for having me.
All right, you guys, once again, to be part of the Black Lives Greater New York rally, show up on Sunday noon, Times Square. And for more, you can follow them on IG at BLM Greater NY, and you can follow Chivona on Twitter at New York Vani. All right, we have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll hear about a campaign helping NYCHA residents. Don't go anywhere. Hey everyone, welcome back to Open Remote. So COVID-19 has greatly impacted New York City with staggering numbers of approximately 6,600 NYCHA residents being diagnosed positive and living in such dense quarters, having to deal with elevator outages, lack of sanitation, increased presence of rats and pests, all in the midst of a global pandemic. So in response to this ongoing issue, the Holmes Isaacs Coalition launched the #FundNYCHA social media video campaign calling on NYCHA residents across the city to document their experience living in NYCHA. Joining us to tell us more, we welcome Holmes Isaac Coalition co-founders Andrea Coleman and Lakeisha Taylor. Hello, ladies. Thank you for joining us today.
Hello, greetings. Glad to be here.
Yeah, you both spoke at the same time. It's all good. We're going to make the most out of this. So let's start with the inspiration behind forming this coalition. Who would like to speak on that first?
We can kind of share it, I guess. I can speak a little. We've been doing this work together and with others since 2015 when NYCHA decided to start Next Gen and start an infill project or proposed infill project on Holmes Towers grounds. And we just been very involved in pushing back because we wanted to be able to conserve and keep our land, keep our air, preserve the playground. And it was about a lack of funding. They claimed that would make a difference, but that wasn't the case. And we just stayed on the front lines since 2015, and that's how the coalition can form. I could let Lakeisha add on to that.
Okay.
Thank you, Sandrea. So we noticed that Sandrea, myself, and another member, Jose Guerrero, were the same three people who were always there. And we said, you know what? We really need to form a coalition. We need to connect and make sure people know that we have power and we need to speak up. So in that, we decided that we were going to solidify this and make the Holmes Isaac Coalition, combining Holmes Towers and Isaacs together, and inform people about their power to fight against NYCHA and let them know you have power, you can stand up and know your rights. And in that, we collaborated with Take Root Justice and our officials and people at the Justice Center to form and fight to stop the building of a 50-story tower that they tried to build on our playground.
Right. Meanwhile, the actual establishments themselves need all kinds of renovation and sanitation, for that matter.
Exactly. This is the lie in which that NYCHA and the federal government try to tell you that they do not have money, but they continue to defund NYCHA while they continue to fund the police department and fund wars and things of that nature. While the citizens we don't have hot water, we don't have elevators, and we suffer. But yet, when you build a coalition like ours, you can fight against these things.
And so the coalition was formed in 2019. What kind of results have you seen since forming it?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you.
Okay, so somebody's we're dealing with a pandemic, we're dealing with protests, we're dealing with police all over the place. I'm hearing a lot of sounds in the background. So It is what it is in the middle of our interview. But what I was saying is, you formed this coalition in 2019, and since forming it, what kind of results have you seen?
Well, we actually were able to, because we work with elected officials, thankfully, since 2015, Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney, Ben Kalos, Dan Court, to name a few, Manhattan Borough President, they have all stood alongside us. And we actually launched our HP Action, Housing Parts Action lawsuit December 13th to file for repairs in our common areas and in our apartments. So us just gaining traction, doing actions. We've done presses, we've done press conferences in front of City Hall. We marched to Gracie Mansion. You know, we've always been advocating for funds, and we have other allies along with us, and Lakeisha could continue on if she wants to piggy on that.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. With that, we've gained notoriety, and we become a force to be reckoned with. And basically, with that, we let them know that we're not going to stand for this injustice. We continue to fight. We continue to inform our tenants and let them know that this is what we stand for. And with that, NYCHA knows that we are the people who are going to stand up. And that's what you need to know. This is what tenants need to know. And you have to join forces with your public officials. You have to be able to stand up. And through this HP action, we are informing NYCHA that this is not acceptable. Right. It is a shame that people have to fight and go to court in order to get the repairs that it is in our lease that we are guaranteed. And this is what people need to understand. You are guaranteed these rights by federal law. This is what NYCHA is supposed to give you. But by filing an HP action, this is what holds them, this is what binds them. And this is what people need to fight for.
So coming together as a unit, how many of you are there all together that have formed this coalition? I mean, obviously you ladies are the co-founders. You mentioned someone else who I believe is a lawyer, right?
Oh, no, he is not.
No, he's not a lawyer. You work with the justice centers that have the lawyers.
Yeah. Right. They're two separate groups. The Justice Center and Take Root Justice are two separate entities that have come to help us in filing this HP action.
And
Ben Kalos, our city council member, Ben Kalos, actually funded the fees for the lawyers. So he took care of the lawyers for us.
So, and this is government housing, isn't it?
Yes.
And so right now they're concerned with getting everyone tested when there's all these repairs and all kinds of things that need to be addressed within the establishment. But yet, right now, everyone is getting sick. I'm sure.
Yes.
So the lack of sanitation and all of that plays a role.
Exactly.
The upkeep of the actual establishment. And so, but how are you ladies enrolling more people to come to the forefront and be a voice and stand together?
Well, being involved in your community, being that piece, the people right on the front lines out there, we're actually out there. We handed out masks. We do that. We are informing people. I'm doing work with Census 2020. Which is very important, letting residents know. We speak about the disinvestment, but you have to get counted, which is very important. So raising that awareness and just having our boots on the ground and checking with our neighbors. We did a lot of door knocking in the past, and we still do. We put out information. We stand outside and speak to residents. We have several meetings. We do Zoom meetings. I mean, it's all about being informed. A lack of knowledge is, it is what it is. It's ignorance. It's not a bad word, but if you don't know, you don't know. And we have to educate our people and also get them involved to be civically engaged, because you have to vote. Voting is very important. So we are engaging our neighbors and beyond. And that's what's going to make the difference, is getting them involved. And also, if they can't make certain meetings and stuff, still giving out the information. That's one of the key issues I found in different NYCHA developments, that if you don't attend certain meetings, you don't know what's going on. But it's still, the word needs to be passed on. And we are like living testaments. We're telling people and informing them.
Got it. And so before we go, let's share the details behind the campaign, because this is it. We only have a few like a minute, and I want to make sure that people are engaged in the campaign that you guys initiated online.
Right. Well, it's a fun NYCHA campaign, and during the coronavirus, everything has exasperated and got worse. So we're highlighting residents, taking videos of them, and we're asking people throughout the city to share and highlight their issues in NYCHA. And it's like a 60-second video that we can put out. Lakeisha can jump in as well.
Right, because what if people are embarrassed, and now they're they're publicizing it. However, you have to show in order to get things done, right? So it's a fine line. It's kind of tricky, wouldn't you say?
Well, that's the thing, and that's what we need to do. We need to take the stigma away from public housing, because that's the problem that we had. I'm also a member. I'm a fellow from the Movement School, which gives power to being a person who grew up in public housing. We have to take the stigma away. You pay 30% of your income. You earn that income. You earn the right to say you live in public housing. This is not a handout. So it is okay. It is not your fault that your apartment is falling apart. It is not your fault that you have mold. It is not your fault that you live with rodents. And it is okay to say. It is sad that this is the way that we have to go on social media to beg to the public, to beg on TV, to let them know that my house is falling apart. But these are the tools in which that we must use to let them know that this is happening. So we are asking the public, we are going to different public developments, and we are saying we have already had our neighbors. We are letting them know, you give 30 seconds, you say, my name is, I am from, and this is what is happening. Coronavirus is happening in public housing because NYCHA has left us behind, because NYCHA has disinvested in our lives. We have to let them know. My 8-year-old son has said he's afraid to go into the elevators. Because why? Because we were stuck for 15 minutes. These are the things that are happening in our lives, and it is okay. It is not your fault. You have paid your 30%. We have to let them know it is okay.
And you know what, ladies? I want to say thank you for being a stand.
Thank you.
Providing this platform. Andrea Coleman and Lakeisha Taylor, thank you so much for spearheading this. And you guys, I want to say, to participate in the campaign, you got to make sure to take a picture or a video and hashtag #FundNYCHA now. And to be part of the coalition, you can follow them on Holmes Isaacs on Twitter. All right, don't go anywhere. Bobby C's Weekly Sports Roundup is coming up next.
Thank you.
Last time out, we sat down with Motorsports Hall of Famer Mario Andretti. Here's part 2 of that discussion with the legend.
I always tell people that I love racing, Mario, not just because of the racing, but the actual, sport being at the front of innovation. And I was really happy to see that you see someone like Ferrari making ventilators for the pandemic, even Ford here in America making ventilators and PPE. As someone that's a dual citizenship, you must be very excited about watching both countries contribute and having racing being out in the forefront in the helping efforts.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, excited and very proud, that they put aside, their main specialty and their careers and just dove in there, to help, as you say, the rest of the world in need of ventilators, which at the moment everybody was sort of, we need some pronto. It's not something that you can just snap your finger. and build, so it's a complicated piece of equipment, and the engineering factor capabilities, Ferrari, and I think Red Bull did something like that, Mercedes. My heart, it's wonderful to see that. Kudos to all of them.
You were anything but retired. Your racing career might have come to a close in 1994 in your mid-50s, but you're right back in the swing of things with the two-seater and racing people around, and then also now making your sim racing debut at 80 years young and taking on someone like Fernando Alonso, who's only 42 years younger than you.
I've been working on it, the best I can. I have a lot of time to catch up. I have a lot of room to catch up to because again, some of these dudes have been doing it for some time, and for me, it's as a rookie, it's going to be a pure rookie. So we'll see that. I want to make sure I don't get in anybody's way, but we've been doing some sim races, simulated races the last day or so. And we got quite a bit of work today ahead of us, and things have not been too bad, actually. I'm kind of so far midfield, but I'm not totally lost.
Mario, you are a celebrity among celebrities. So over the years, so many people have gotten a chance to get behind the wheel with you in this two-seater type of thing. You've also encouraged some of the most notable actors to get into racing, people like Paul Newman. You got a chance to race against Steve McQueen and Sebring. I guess the question there would be, who's a better racer, Paul Newman or Steve McQueen? And then who's your favorite celebrity to have introduced to racing?
Paul Newman, by far for me. I think on both counts, as a friend, as a real passionate for racing. Paul Newman, again, he's done some driving, just like Steve, as you said, and a couple of others. But I think he relished just being around the team and being with the boys, and just have a beer at the end of the day. He was just one of us for sure. And again, it was not. It was pure. It was sincere. He was not acting, and that's the beauty about this man. He was bigger than life to all of us, but at the same time, very subdued and modest, and again, we cherished his obviously his presence whenever possible, and for me, it was just a delight, and it was such a precious time in my life that I had to spend with him.
By many accounts, 1965 is a real big turning point in your career. Is that the year that you think kind of was the springboard for everything else that would follow?
I think so, for sure, because when you look back, that was my rookie year in IndyCar, and winning the national championship. My rookie year, was really huge for me. And better yet, to be able to back it up with another championship the following year was, again, what I really needed, to be able to say, well, okay, you weren't just lucky, in your rookie season. And again, it launched me well because Indy pole the following year and all that, and, the following 2 years, actually. So all of that was good stuff for me. And as you can see, if you do well at Indy, usually people pay attention to that. I don't know if it's fair or not. It's only one race, but if it happens well for you at the beginning, it's a good thing. Believe me.
And I tell people all the time that even though you only get credited for winning one Indy 500 in 1969, you really won it twice, and you wear the ring actually these days to prove that point, right? There you go.
Yeah, indeed. I feel that legally I won that race. No question about it. I mean, Bobby, obviously Bobby and Roger Penske, they did what they could, to try to, to still get back and get the victory given back to them. But it was done by outside judges, and they all knew that the infraction was committed. So they reinstate him back as a winner, and they fine him $40,000. And so that was not by the book. And the following year at the drivers' meeting, I said to Tom Binford, the race director, I said, Tom, any rule changes from last year? He said, nope. I said, so hypothetically today, if I pass 11 cars under the yellow and cross the finish line first, is the fine still $40,000? Oh, no. He said, well, Mario says, obviously, I'm the one that ruled on it. I knew that was wrong. He said, but it's now, it was out of my hands. But that was, the absurdity of it all, quite honestly, for me to accept that, the rule only applied that year is what I'm saying. And I fault USAC, United States Auto Club, the sanctioning body, for allowing outside sport lawyer to come in and intimidate everyone, the locals, and then, bring in three people, totally outsiders, to rule on this. And it was 2 against 1. They said that, well, under these circumstances, the penalty is too severe. Well, the rule book doesn't say that you can pass cars under the yellow under a fine, as long as you're leading the race. You know what I mean? It just, but it is what it is.
Do you think Indianapolis is at the top of the list for you? I know the F1 championship's got to be up there too.
Well, I think the series is at the top of the list. Indy's just is one race. It's a big race, but I always looked at the series, and the IndyCar series. What I love about it is the fact that you have all these, the road courses and the street courses. You have short ovals, super speedway. And I like the versatility of that series. It's like no other series at the top. And I think the champion of that series is the most complete champion in motorsports. And that's the beauty of it. I don't know how many everybody really appreciates that, but that's the beauty of IndyCar racing.
I know, Mario, before we let you go too, that you always wear a watch when you drive. I wanted to show you, I got my Yima 69 replica, even though the band is a little bit different, but we're just curious.
You're the man.
Curious what your favorite watch is in your collection before we let you go.
I'm sure impressed as to how informed you are. I'm just incredible, actually. Thanks obviously for having known so much about my career. I feel very privileged to have someone like you, obviously, interested in the sport in such a way. So, thanks. The Yema watch works well, doesn't it?
It does. It's a great watch. That's actually the only regret. I think the only regret that I really probably have in life is a couple of years ago was covering the race at Pocono, and I was unaware that you give the media early in the morning a little bit of a ride around the track. So I'm hoping that this year when I come to Indianapolis for the 500 in August, that I might be able to catch a spin with you at that time.
There you go. You're on.
Sounds great. I really appreciate you taking the time. Your memories are as sharp as your reflexes, my friend.
Thanks. You're very kind.
Thank you so much, Mario Andretti. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me again.
We built a media network for you.
BronxNet TV.
Come learn in your new state-of-the-art studios at Lehman College.
At Mercy College.
And coming soon to the South Bronx in the Hub.
Inspire with your stories, culture, history.
Your Bronx on BronxNet.
Engage with us.
Connect with us at your channels and at BronxNet.tv.
Learn, engage, inspire. BronxNet TV.
From the Bronx
to the world.
BronxNet.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Our last guest is a Bronxite who for the past 20 years has dedicated her life to uplifting the youth through her spoken word, teaching as an educational associate, and as the creative director of Miss Abby's Kids organization. She's also recognized for holding her weekly forum Tuesday Night Expressions that helps bring awareness to mental health in the Black and Brown communities through real life teachings. And here now to tell us more, we welcome Artist Up. Hello and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I am truly humbled and grateful to be a part of this show and to share my insight on things. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And it's a wonderful way for us to close out the show. I mean, this whole show has been themed an activist show, a show of activism and activating and hopefully we'll be reaching the next generation so that this doesn't continue to repeat itself. And so we are going through some really trying times, and I know that you've dedicated your life's work to educating the next generation. So let's talk a little bit about your approach.
Yes, absolutely. So I started out public speaking when I was really young, probably about 9 years old. My first speech was actually in Lehman College, and the adrenaline I got and the response, it was so amazing to see my peers so interested in what I had to say about sustaining important relationships and staying in school and what it's like to do research and read and just stay abreast on things that may not be in the books per se. So I started out public speaking. Then I started doing poetry and writing and performing and being in the arts. And for me, that was a way to really show expression to its highest extent and not keep it all bottled up inside and express smoothly. And I love the nonprofit work. I love working, hitting the ground, being on the front lines, just being a voice and also a body out in the field.
Right. And also being accessible, because that's the key, right? Being able to let them know, and I'm referencing the next generation, that we're the same in a sense,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
I love that your mission is to really approach the mental health aspect of it, the mental wellness, and that you coming from this real life perspective.
Yes, because I find that in the Black and Brown communities, at times, it's like what happens at home stays at home, and seeking help, therapy, a psychologist, a psychiatrist is not really something that is pushed upon, and it really hurts people and families and youth not to be able to talk about the things that are bothering them and the emotional pain. So I find that when you show people that you can be transparent and the youth that it is okay to speak up and speak out, that less crime happens, more self-worth develops, and when people believe in themselves, they are unstoppable. So as long as the youth know that what they're going through is important to not only them, that their feelings are valid and it's okay to express them, but to the communities in which they live, then it's very important. As I grew up in the poorest congressional district, I find that a lot of programs were cut, and that's how we really got into the nonprofit portion and just creating programs where youth can have something to look forward to and build within themselves.
So before we go, because of what you're talking about, I want to make sure that anybody listening who may need this outlet is informed about your Tuesday night expressions, because you do it in different forms there.
Yes, I do. So before this pandemic was happening, I was holding it on a Third Avenue over in the Bronx in Flavor's Restaurant. It was just about to hit a year, and it was started to bring awareness to mental health in the Black and Brown communities and suicide amongst young women, as the numbers are astronomically rising, and people aren't really talking about it too much. Since it's been over 415 first timers on the mic. London, people from London have heard about it and come to see, what was the hype all about. And I was very happy that it was a great experience. And 11 people have received services, mental health services, from coming and joining and networking at Tuesday Night Expression. So now I hold it, not every single Tuesday, but I hold it online virtually now. And the 1 year anniversary was last week. So next week, I will be holding Tuesday Night Expressions online. It'll be live on the Facebook page, which is Tuesday Night Expressions. So for people to join, participate, and watch.
And so before we go, let's, because we're going to close out very powerfully with your song. And it's it's amazing how the universe just works everything out for us, because the song that you're going to perform for us kind of sums up pretty much where we are right now in society.
Absolutely. So I wrote this piece about 4 years ago, and it was a collective of things that was happening at the time that made me write it. I was marching. I was seeing firsthand, the families of people who were murdered by police brutality, such as Eric Gardner. It took me 9 hours. I wrote this piece 9 hours. It took me to write this piece, with a lot of just watching videos of Emmett Till, watching over and over what happened to Eric Gardner, and actually the line where I say, "Get the dogs, the colors is coming." My late mother, we were talking one time before she passed, and she said, she grew up down south in South Carolina, and she said, when I would cross the property of the mailman to go to school, the kids would yell, "Get the dogs, the coloreds are coming." And so that's really how that piece, They Run, came about. And I think it's really unfortunate that I can update that with names such as Breonna Taylor and George Floyd.
Yeah, it is unfortunate. Are you ready to present it?
Yes, I am.
All right, mi gente, here to perform. They Run. Let's give it up for Artist Up.
America. Depending on how you spell it, ICA or KKK makes all the difference to the end of your day. America, where babies are assassinated for buying Skittles and iced tea, yet their murderers get to walk scot-free. America, where there's a Nipsey in every hood near you, yet they don't get supported because the media has to tell you who's who. America, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, except George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Eric Gardner, Amadou Diallo, Tamir Rice, Sandra Bland, and Junior Black. Get the dogs, the coloreds are coming. They run. Hey, these parts you don't belong around, boy. They run. Hey, that water you drinking ain't for colored folk. They run. The fire burns from Emmett Lewis Till to Philando Castile. The pain, even I feel, is real. Unfortunately, 1985 wasn't year enough to stop the blood of my ancestors' overspill. So 30 years later, I run. But not from the dogs, or crossing the white folk property, or drinking from the fountain labeled whites only. I run for my unborn's possibility. I run for the youth I teach. I run for my niece, who I know I've already reached. I'm humbled by modern day kings like my son Lennon, who march making it clear: no justice, no peace, no racist police. And modern day queens like Shaniqua Charles, who remind us on the daily that we don't have nothing to lose but our chains. You see, your permission doesn't need to be given. I run to rid myself of misguided traditions. No more sitting around the table under the pretenses that thanks was given. No more leaving cookies and milk for old St. Nick, because the exchange of priceless gifts for 7 days is what I'm with. I ran right into my consciousness, with every experience leaving me a tighter grip. Ashe.
Artist Up. Ashe, sister. Ashe.
Thank you.
Oh gosh, you guys, Artist Up. She's going to be performing virtually for the Credible Messenger Justice Center. The event is titled Sustaining Trust in a Changing World, and her work can also be found on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, Amazon, Tidal, and Deezer. And be sure to follow her on Instagram at artist_up. All right, that's our show today, mi gente. Thanks to all our guests for coming through, and to you, our viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of the show, you can check out the recablecast tonight, 24 hours a day, at BronxNet.tv. I'm Rhina Valentin, and from all of us here at Open, may the universe provide peace, prosperity, y amor. Stay blessed and stay strong. Power to the people.